We are now joined by Jake Palomaki, assistant coach here at Penn State, work with the hitters and the infielders. First and foremost, thanks so much for giving us a little bit of time this morning. I want to get into, first and foremost, this is a new space for you guys in this facility. Kind of talk about the space in here in the indoor, the cages, how you guys kind of utilize it to get hitters better.
Yeah, so we have the full space all the time. We have 2 cages in here, bunch of machines, probably 6 or 7 different machines. We have a black box back there that's self-feeding, so guys can come in without anybody else and just kind of get their work in. We have hit tracks there, TrackMan set up, and then a weight room there. So we do a lot of hitting movement prep. So before they hit, they'll get into their med ball work, they'll get into their banded work, kind of ISO holds, single leg stability stuff, just to kind of prep them to come in and use the space efficiently. And then they have post work too, stretching, opening themselves up, making sure they're moving as efficiently as possible.
So I'm glad you bring that up, because how important is movement and kind of having efficient movements when it comes to building a swing and kind of building the engine of a hitter?
Yeah, it's everything, right? Like, we want to move in the weight room just like we move in the cages. If we're not moving in the weight room like moving in the cages, then a lot of that work outside of pure strength is useless. We want everything to translate and be as dynamic in the cages as possible, and just make sure that they're able to repeat it and do it every single day. Obviously, baseball is one of the hardest sports in the game, or sports in general, but this game's really tough on a lot of guys, so.
And then how do you go about building kind of the plan and the movement for individual guys? Because, you know, you only have a handful of coaches. You got 20 plus hitters. Yep. What's it kind of look like to kind of help guys and lead them in building out individual plans to make sure every guy's getting better? Yeah,
so we have a lot of testing. We have FMS testing, which is just basically how they move in different patterns, and then force plates. We use a lot of that data, and can translate into the cages. So every guy will have a thing they're trying to open up with it, whether it's hip, shoulder, ankle, just to kind of get them moving efficiently in the box, but also then a swing thought as well, so that they're trying to pair those two together and try not to overwhelm the hitter and the player with data and information, but keep it simple and compact so that they can get better, figure out how to do it, and then move on to their next thing and hopefully end up mastering the full product by the end. But it takes, obviously, as you know, a great deal of time.
Yeah, and how do you go about then, like, kind of making sure they're staying on what's important today, right? Because with so much, you know, so many resources, so much information, so many different things they can be focused on, how do you kind of keep them on track of like, hey, today, it's not about the mechanics, you know, sure. we need to work on, you know, approach or this and that. How do you kind of keep them focused and making sure they're staying on the right path?
Yeah, so we have 3 kind of buckets we put our days into. We have skill acquisition, that's slower and a little bit more drill oriented, getting your feels going. And then skill development is when we're going to push you a little bit of overtraining, try to put you in a more difficult environment than the actual game. And then we have competition, where it's me versus you. You either get it done or you don't, and we go from there and try to make our hitters understand that this is what we're doing today, this is what we're doing tomorrow, this is how we're building it out, so that they understand that there's days to get more swings and feel stuff, and then there's days where you're just going and competing against the guy on the mound.
And then how do you go about break down some of the, like, maybe the drills when we're looking at things like if a guy needs bat speed? How do we evaluate that? And you know, because we've had this conversation a lot with different coaches about, like, is there a diminishing return with bat speed?
Sure.
Where maybe there can be too much, right? Obviously there's a floor to catch up to certain pitches, especially at this level. But how do you go about, like, hey, this is some of the drills we need to work on here, but we don't want to get too far where now we're chasing the wrong thing?
Sure. I think it comes down to the hitter you are and the player that you are. We put our guys into 4 buckets. An animal who can do it all, a gorilla who's a lot of slug, you have your grinder who just grinds out at bats, and then you have your speedsters who just kind of puts balls in play, create havoc. Having the self-awareness to understand who you are as a hitter is where what we attack first. Once you understand who you are, all right, now what do you do well in that realm, and then how do we get you to do it more often? So if we're going at bat speed, we use blast. So blast motion is a lot of where we get our data for that. Our smaller speedster guy, we're not too worried about bat speed, right? If his floor is fine and he's able to produce enough bat to ball with that bat speed, we're not probably going to touch that. But if it's dragging behind and he can't get his barrel on time, that's probably when we implement a bat speed program. We'll use our weighted bats, overload, underload, regular bat, max effort, low effort, trying to get them feeling what that is. And a lot of hitters, it's a good feel for them too. Like, some guys are max effort, and that's too much effort for a big guy who's a gorilla that slugs. Maybe if he puts his effort level down to 80%, maybe he gets on the barrel a tick more, and now that all those numbers go way up just because he's not trying so hard. So kind of balancing that act and understanding who the hitter is, and then kind of going from there.
And then taking some of those things into kind of challenging practice environments. You mentioned that a little bit. Walk us through kind of what the messaging is on those days, because they can be frustrating, which is sort of the goal, right? To kind of put them in a tough position and maybe not make it easy to succeed. And then also walk us through what those days look like. What type of things are you doing to kind of challenge them in practice?
Yeah, I mean, our messaging's the same as every day, right? We're going to compete. We're going to work as hard as we can, and we're going to be there for our teammate. We have posted all over the wall, are you being a good teammate? Did you have good energy today? Those two are the biggest things for us in the cages and also as a team. But just attacking those questions every single day, and then understanding, hey boys, this is skill development day. It's not supposed to be easy. You're not supposed to have a lot of success. And when those guys buy in and understand that, that's when you get a real special club. But we'll do a lot of double machine that's set up here, fastball slider, not tell them what's coming, but then we'll change approach as well. Hey, you're just hunting fastball here, or you're just hunting the breaking ball here, and then kind of go bouncing back and forth and understand where to look, where does it start, is it ride, is it sink, is it cut, just simple things like that will be kind of the language we use, and we use a lot of different terms as well.
Break down a little bit of what success looks like on those days for a guy, because a lot of times people think of practice they should be barreling everything, right? BP, the traditional, if you think about it, guy from 40 feet away, I should be barreling everything. You put them in an environment where you're giving them fastball slider off a machine, they don't know which one's coming. That's difficult. That's what you see in the game. And hey, if you go 1 for 4 in a game, it's not a bad day at all. So what does kind of success look like in here for those guys on a day when you're really challenging them like that?
Yeah, so we have 2 questions we ask before we even talk about swing. Were you on time? Did you swing at a good pitch? If those both aren't yes and yes, we're not worried about your swing. So yesterday, we was our first day kind of attacking them with double machine and randomizing stuff. We're just worried about swing decision. Were you on time? Did you swing at a good pitch? Praising the good swing decision, praising being on time and not the result, right? Process over results is what we're really trying to attack those days, because if you're not staying on the positive those days, then they can get very negative very quick. And as you know, you'll lose guys as that happens.
And then just break down for me a little bit, as simple as you can. What are kind of some of give me maybe 2 or 3 things that are important components that make a good hitter?
So we start all our guys in the fall from launch. So like if we feel if you can't get to your launch spot and where you fire from, then it doesn't really matter what you do before that if you're not getting in the ground, using the ground. So I would say launch is the biggest thing. Another is rhythm and timing to that spot. How do you time up the pitcher and what's your move look like? And then your barrel control. What do you do with the barrel, and can you put the bat on the ball when you have to, and are you adjustable? Those are 3 or 4 things we kind of look for, but we build it from the ground up, because if you're not using your legs, you're not using your lower half, you're not rooted in the ground, then we can't really do anything.